The Green Chamber is resuming plenary amid electioneering campaigns as Nigeria prepares for the general elections. The Speaker noted that the nature of political conversations determine not just the electoral outcomes, but the quality of governance, and therefore urged Nigerians to unite and ensure that the trend of insecurity and attacks on political actors do not lead to circumstances that threaten forthcoming general elections.
Our obligations have not been any less demanding. Still, I hope you have taken time to rest, recover, and prepare yourselves for the responsibilities that will continue to demand our time, abilities, and efforts. When the Ninth House of Representatives was inaugurated in 2019, we hit the ground running to discover and present solutions to our country's problems. Some of our efforts have yielded positive results in some regards, and in other areas, there is still work to do. We must resolve to continue to do the people's work despite the obligations and distractions of the political campaign season. As we approach the end of our term in office, I am hopeful that we will continue to meet and exceed expectations in this new year. Let us begin this new year with a renewed commitment to legislative action that brings us closer to achieving our highest aspirations for our nation. Let us resume with renewed determination to achieve better oversight of government spending priorities through a collaborative effort with the executive arm of government and civil society, and we remain dedicated to the lofty yet clear ambitions we articulated in our legislative agenda when we resumed in the 9th Assembly. This year, it is imperative that we focus our efforts on completing the tasks we have already initiated and closing out the assignments on which our legacy in this 9th House will be assessed. Several bills still in the legislative process need to be actioned as a matter of urgency, as these bills propose significant improvements across different sectors of our national life. Some of these bills are still in committee, while others are awaiting concurrence in the Senate. We will see to it that we conclude work on these bills so that they can be presented to Mr. President during the life of this administration. One recurring criticism of the legislature in Nigeria has been the lack of continuity and the absence of tools and procedures for establishing an institutional memory. Government is a continuum. The actions of one administration will continue to impact the country long into the future. As the democratic process leads to continuous personnel turnover, it is vital to have a system that allows future office holders to understand the decisions made by their predecessors. In the executive arm of government, it is established practice to prepare handover notes. I wish today to propose to the House that we adopt this practice at the committee level. The House Committee on Rules and Business will lead this effort to formulating guidelines to make this possible. Over the last few appropriation cycles, the dire conditions of our national finance have required significant borrowing to finance government operations, sustain investments in infrastructure and national security, and improve the living conditions of the Nigerian people. Just as the 9th Assembly has reformed the appropriations process to ensure timely budget passage, we also intend to leave a legacy of transparency and accountability as a standard for the future. Therefore, as part of preparing our reports, we must make a deliberate effort to give a complete account of our oversight activities in the 9th House of Representatives. Early in our term, we adopted the legislative agenda as a statement of our governing priorities in the 9th House of Representatives. We termed the agenda our contract with Nigerians, to reflect our determination to be held accountable for the commitments we made therein. Despite many challenges, including the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the contraction of our national economy, and a drastic reduction in resources available for the development, we have made reasonable progress in achieving the objectives we set in our agenda. It is time to consider what has been done, what we didn't do, and why. The Committee on Monitoring and Implementation of the Legislative Agenda will review activities of the 9th House of Representatives and present a report on the implementation of our legislative agenda to the House. This is necessary to ensure that we have a report card to show the Nigerian people at the end of our term. But just as importantly, this review will allow us to better understand where we succeeded and where we didn't as a guide for the future. Honorable colleagues, as we approach the general elections, there has been a marked increase in incidents of insecurity and vicious attacks on political actors in parts of the country. We must unite to ensure this dangerous trend does not lead to circumstances that threaten the forthcoming elections. The quality of the political conversations in society, particularly in the lead-up to elections, is a determining factor in the electoral outcomes and the quality of governance that will result therefrom. When political discourse seeks to unite the people behind an agenda of shared prosperity, social development, and respect for the humanity of persons, governance will also reflect these priorities. The security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. With these words, the Constitution obligates us all who swear to serve the government to do everything to protect the lives and property of all citizens and promote their well-being above all else. This obligation is central to the governing contract between the government and the citizenry. As leaders in our various communities and constituencies, we must adopt a politics of accommodation and brotherhood. And we must ensure that no insecurity threatening our country's peace can be attributed to our actions or utterances. This is our constitutional obligation and a moral duty from which we must not deviate. I wish to acknowledge with the most incredible gratitude the efforts of our men and women in uniform, who at this moment are stationed in different parts of the country, taking risks and offering the supreme sacrifice to keep the peace. They are the best of us, to whom we owe not only our gratitude, but also our continued dedication to the offices we hold. Through our efforts to improve the lives of our people, let us make ourselves worthy of the sacrifices these men and women have made and continue to make on our behalf. Honorable colleagues, I welcome you back to the House of Representatives for a new legislative year. I look forward to a successful year of measurable achievements in the joint task of nation building.
Gbajabiamila Miller also reassured that the 9th House of Representatives will make use of the less than 5 months of its life cycle to conclude work on bills that will improve different sectors of national life. A matter of urgent importance brought to the notice of the House was the kidnap of a PDP chieftain in Orukanam of Akwa Ibom State.
Enough to take now, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Your motion.
The House notes with concern and sadness the recurring incidents of incessant abduction, disappearance, and kidnapping going on across the country, and most importantly and recently in Ukanafun Orowanam Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State. Unfortunately, the whole community was greeted with the sad news of the kidnapping and disappearance of Mr. Enobong Williamson, who until his disappearance was the treasurer, People's Democratic Party, PDP Ward 3, in Orowanam local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Note that on the 3rd day of November 2022, Mr. Enobong Williamson was kidnapped by unknown men, and all attempts to locate him has proved abortive. The entire community has since commenced a search for him, but no information has been obtained regarding his whereabouts. Worried that the family and associates of Mr. Enobong Williamson have been thrown into traumatic experience and agony since his disappearance on the 3rd November 2022. The House resolved to condemn in strong terms the kidnapping and disappearance of Mr. Enobong Williamson and other incidences of kidnapping across the country, leaving the citizens at the mercy of the kidnappers. 2, mandate the Inspector General of Police and other security agencies to intensify efforts in securing the release of Mr. Enobong Williamson from the den of kidnappers. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I so move.
2 other motions, one urging authorities to assist victims of fire disaster as the Abak Main Market in Akwa Ibom State from Aniekan Umana, and the other from Saidu Musa, appealing for provision of alternative funding source to reconstruct Bida Zungir Road in Niger State were adopted.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I come under Order 8 Rule 4 to ask that this House suspend its rules to allow me take, on the one hand, a motion of urgent public importance on the need to empathize with and provide relief materials for victims of the recent fire incident at Abak Main Market in Abak local government area in Abak Etimekwe Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I so move. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move a motion on the need to empathize with and provide relief materials for the victims of the recent fire incident at Abak Main Market in Abak local government area of Abak Etimekwe Federal Constituency, Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, the House notes that while the people all over the world were eagerly preparing and waiting to usher in the new year 2023 with joy, a devastating fire gutted down the popular Abak Main Market at the Abak Market Square area of Abak Township in Abak local government area of Akwa Ibom State on the 30th of December 2022 at midnight and raged all the way into the morning. The House further notes that the inferno, which began at about 12 midnight, lasted for over 6 hours, though it was brought under control through community efforts and intervention of men of the Federal Fire Service at the wee hours of the morning. The House is aware that there has been an alarming increase in fire disasters in various markets and residential areas in the country in the recent past. The House observes that the inferno wreaked havoc on the people and properties, resulting in several burns, injuries, and huge losses incurred by helpless citizens and traders. Disturbed that the ugly incident has left its victims in distraught and helpless, especially at the market, which served as the only source of their livelihood and with so much responsibility to cater for. The House is further disturbed that majority of the victims obtained various loans and funds to finance their trading ventures. And with this unfortunate situation, they have been rendered jobless and unable to meet their daily responsibilities to the financial institutions that supported them. The House is worried that the highly industrious people of this community, who are in the majority traders, farmers, artisans, and small-scale entrepreneurs, have contributed their quota to the maintenance of peace and the general economic development of the country. And in the face of the imminent outbreaks and epidemics arising from the dislocation, hunger, and unhealthy lifestyle that this inferno has brought to them. Mr. Speaker, we have full details of all of the compilations of the affected persons, and therefore the House resolves to, 1, call on the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management to immediately take stock of the affected innocent citizens and work out measures to assist them restore their means of livelihood. 2, urge the National Emergency Management Agency to urgently arrange for relief materials to cushion the effect of the losses incurred by these citizens. 3, urge the Federal Fire Service to enhance the operational capacity of their outposts in various parts of the country to enable them rise to the occasion whenever a fire disaster occurs. Mr. Speaker, we finally urge the Committee on Humanitarian Poverty Alleviation and Committees on Interior to ensure compliance. I so move, Mr. Speaker, and thank you so much.
Those against this say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Honorable Anika. It's the presentation of 4 bills. I will now invite the clerk to read their short titles. Clerk, please read the short titles.
Labour Act Amendment Bill 2022, first reading. University of Benin Transitional Provision Act Amendment Bill 2022, first reading. Federal Medical Center, Otun Ekiti Establishment Bill 2022, first reading. Federal Institute of Vocational and Technical Education, Akure North, Ondo State Establishment Bill 2022, first reading.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, CAP 111, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to address emerging trends.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Finance on a bill for an act to amend the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria Act, Cap 111, Laws of Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to address emerging trends in the Nigerian economic environment and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
I rise to second that the bill be read for a second time. I so second.
In line with current realities and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Etan Bora, Honorable Abbas Adigun, Honorable Ben Rolands Ibakwa, Honorable Kayode Moshood Akiolu, and Honorable Oluyemi Adewale Taiwo. Honorable members, we recall that the bills were consolidated on Wednesday, 21 September 2022, and I invite Honorable Oluyemi Adewale Taiwo to move that the bill be read the second time. Honorable Taiwo.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill for an act to amend the National Youth Service Corps Act, Cap N 84, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, be now read the second time. I beg to move. First, anybody that has passed through the university that is serving as a corps member automatically has acquired a degree.
I came back on Saturday.
And it is the belief of this amendment.
Which one is that?
That should reflect in their remuneration. Because the 30,000 naira given to them as it is today is our minimum wage threshold. And in line with the present reality, it will be fair if they are given something that befits a graduate, a level 8 officer in the public service. Then secondly, Mr. Speaker, with the changing times, it is our belief that this activity should no longer be compulsory. And that is why there's an amendment we are proposing here to remove the word shall from Section 2, subsection 1 of the Principal Act and bring in may, making it optional for people to attend. Then, number 3, as at the time the law was made, presently a lot of our children are schooling abroad, and it is our belief that the Act should capture the people that are schooling outside the country. Because if you look at Section 1A of the Act, it says, subsequent academic year, he shall have graduated at the university in Nigeria. So we are adding or outside Nigeria. The essence, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that anybody that applies for exemption should be granted in such a way that the brain drain that we are experiencing. Not too long ago, we had an issue with a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who schooled abroad, crossed the age of 30, and could not serve. So that if our children go outside the country, outside the shore of Nigeria, to school, and they decide to do their masters, and even go ahead to do their doctorate, and they could not come back to serve, because a lot of our youth now seek to look at the NYC as a waste of time, because it is not giving them, one, the cultural integration that is supposed to harness is not there. Then the technical know-how of the work. You see medical doctors now serving in accountant's office. Then 2, Section 2, subsection 1 of the Act says shall, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if, with the agreement of our people, I don't know if we can change it to may, so that it becomes a little optional for people that want to serve. Then 3, the law was made in such a way that we did not consider our children that will be schooling abroad. Not too long ago, we have a casualty. Our Minister of Finance served abroad, schooled abroad, was above 30, came to Nigeria to help with the knowledge. The former Minister of Finance, came to help with our knowledge. But because of the stringent condition placed on acquisition of certificate of exemption, there was something wrong. And at the end of the day, we lost her. We lost that intelligence and expertise that she would have had, that she left. So the amendment is bringing in people that school outside the country, and if they are schooling, maybe you can go do first degree, do second degree, and even do doctorate. Before coming back, they will have crossed the age of service. And when they come, issuance of certificate of exemption should be made flexible in such a way that you can get it, because when it's difficult, because of the rigidity that there's fraud in it. Today, there are so many youth corps that are doing what they call ghost service. They no longer go. They are no longer interested, Mr. Speaker. But I'm sure if we make it optional, if we make it easy to get the exemption certificate, it will be better. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, what this seeks to do is the fact that Nigeria who applied for exemption certificate should get it with ease, so that at the end of the day, it shall not be bound by any provisions of the Act that may affect their right as a citizen of this country going forward. This is it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Jaha.
Importance of NYSC after having one, because by the time they go out, they will discover a lot of things that have not been conversant with in their area. So if you said it's optional, you know how our people are. People may think that it's not even serious, it's not going to impair on their qualification to vie for anything in the past or to occupy certain position. They will make it optional and they will be reluctant to go. But if you make it compulsory, definitely everybody will go and at least discover some things outside his domain. Secondly, on the issue of saying that this time around people are not even benefiting or realizing the benefit of NYSC, I totally disagree with that. Because, Mr. Speaker, we have to say the truth. Graduate is a graduate. The assumption is you graduated, you have nothing doing for a living. This time around, you are starting with a peanut, despite it's 30,000 naira, and he is proposing now it should be in consonant with the minimum wage of at least level 8 as a graduate. With the improvement of that, people will be anxious to go for NYS, and that is going to give them a starting point for them to face the realities of life. So I totally disagree the issue of making NYSC optional. It has to be a compulsory, it's a service to the nation. It happens everywhere in the country, including advanced countries of the world, and it should be in Nigeria too. Thank you, sir.
With the submissions made by my colleague, Honorable Babao, and adopt same as mine, I want to further add that.
Who's raising the point of order and what order, please? Who is observing the Chief Whip?
Not the service itself. I'm not saying that the service should be optional. No, 30 years already. It should not be a yardstick for measurement. That's why I said that should not affect the right of any citizen of Nigeria. So long as you are within the country and you are less than 30 years, it's a different thing. But you are outside the country and you have finished your university, first degree, second degree, and you are above 30 years, it should not be a yardstick. That's the one I am speaking of. Certificate of exemption, Mr. Speaker.
Foreign members, it's a question of language. Based on the submissions that he just made or the information that he has just given, to make it optional once you are over 30 and above. That is the submissions that he is making. But my submission is to the effect that even if you are 30 and above, the exemption certificate should not be optional, it should be compulsory. It should be compulsory so that nobody can say that he is over 30 and therefore he cannot be, it's optional for him. Once you are over 30 or you are below 30, it should be compulsory that you should be given an exemption certificate in order to avoid a situation whereby people will now try to circumvent the law by way of changing their age or age qualification and what have you. That is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, what I want to say is very close to what Honorable Jah has said, that the words "shall" should remain instead of "may." And then what the mover of the bill is saying, that the benefit or the importance of the scheme is no longer tenable I disagree totally, because if you are in a particular area, you have not gone to test the other side, you will not know the character and the experience of the other side. Like me, I served in a place called Ogu, Enugu State. And till today, the experience is still there, because I learned a lot from the people. So also, let our children continue this way to bring unity and then, what do you call, affection that they have in one side, they were able to also emulate it in the other area where they are serving. For example, people who study in East will not know what is happening in northern Nigeria. But if we are able to go to North, they'll be able to see that what they are telling us, what they are reading about them, some of them are not true. But during the service, they'll be able to know, for example, about the culture and about the food they eat. But if they don't allow them to do it, I believe the division will still be there in the country, and it will bring animosity. So I believe that service, that scheme is still very, very relevant, and we should allow it to continue that way. Except the remuneration, which is very low. I believe that if you give me 30,000, what am I going to do with it? It cannot sustain me for a week. That's the only aspect I know that we should look at. But in terms of compulsory, it has to be compulsory. That word shall should remain in that act. Thank you so much.
Colleague, is discriminatory. Discriminatory by age. If you attain a certain age, you are not entitled. But if it's optional, I think it's in line with the Constitution, Section 42. Section 42 gives every person the opportunity. Not being discriminated because you are aged, maybe you started school very late. It's not your fault. It might be an economic problem that you didn't start school on time, and you intend to serve your country, and you are discriminated because you have reached a particular point of age. I think, Mr. Speaker, it's not in line with the Constitution, and our Constitution is sacrosanct. Our Constitution is the ground norm upon which other laws originate. So I believe that the current law as it stands breaches the Constitution. And I will look at it in the face of where Honorable Ben Ibaba has brought these issues, laying a very solid foundation for his argument. So I intend and sway by his argument and sway by the Constitution. And I ask every member of this great House to be swayed by that and align with Honorable Ben Ibaba with every submission he has deposited. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker. Ethnic groups, place of origin, sex, as in line with age, religion, or political opinion shall not, by reason only that he is such a person, sex as in age, sex as in age.
Please, Honorable Osai.
I'm coming.
The Constitution has listed the base, right? So many of the laws that we have passed here, otherwise, many of the laws that we have passed here will be illegal because age is actually a feature of many of the laws that have been passed in Parliament, and for good reason. Point of order is overruled.
Various decrees that have now translated into law didn't make a mistake for creating NYC or National Youth Service Scheme. The history is very simple, sir. Remember, it is as a result of the Civil War. And because they wanted a national integration, that was why that scheme was brought up. And I believe it has an intention, and they were achieving, even if we are not achieving 100%, Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I want to believe what the crafters have foreseen or forecasted, today we are benefiting from it. Two, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it is right for us to begin to encourage to have the two set of laws for different, for the same citizens of Nigeria. Whether you are schooling outside the country, it's about opportunity. Those who are schooling within here might have wished to go outside the country. They have now been situated and then put to this kind of whatever situation to school here should not be used as a disadvantage against any of our citizens. By the information or the outline he has given us to say those who who have found themselves to school outside, they have the right to continue. Yes, it's their own opportunity to continue their education, to pursue up to PhD. If they want to come and serve in Nigeria and then have responsible office, they should also be willing to comply to the bylaws that will be set for the country and citizens. In every country, developed or undeveloped, we have programs like that. In the US, you have to go for a compulsory 1 year. In the army, compulsory 1 year. We are not more wise than them. And there's a purpose for that. It brings discipline, it brings integration, and it brings foresight into and then the planning for what you do. It brings also the zeal and then love for your country. It is for the love of our country that want this 1 year scheme is designed for our citizens, so that we can also give in part of what we have. Because in need, you could go for teaching, you could go for other side work, community service. It helps a lot, sir. I want to believe that we should not tamper with that aspect. I wholeheartedly agree that yes, not only then, every other sector, if the economy situation and economic situation permits, we should look into it towards improving the lives of our citizens. Because as you read in your own speech this morning, sir, you captured it very aptly in your welcome speech from the 1 week break. What you read out was that the primary aim of any government is the welfare and protection of life. And so it is nothing out of order, it's not out of order for him to converse for that, but it will be out of order, totally, sir, to think that we should have different set of laws for our citizens. Two, as a former chairman of our federal character, I will tell you many more stories, sir. Some have the opportunity to go out, and when they go out, even within the country here, because of the family background, and this is coming from the ruling class, and those who have the economy, who think they are above service to their community. They will be here in the country after graduation, refuse to go for service, and then come back to say they want to have national appointment. I think those laws should be protected. And it's only when you do that, that you will create a level field ground for those who are voting us, who don't have the opportunity to sponsor their children to go abroad. I think we should not do anything that will make them think we have two sets of citizens in the country. Thank you very much. This is my submission, sir.
Thank you. I think it's important that we note one thing in our debate, but we must look at the essence of the act and the reason why the act was in place. If an amendment now negates the whole idea of the NYSC, then then we might as well repeal the whole law. So that's what we should bear in mind. Honorable Toby.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague Ben for bringing this bill before the House. The idea of second reading is to discuss the principles. And if it's an amendment, it is meant to state what mischief you want to cure. Mr. Speaker, like you rightly stated, what was the reason for establishing the NYSC? Why is it being called National Youth Service Corps? And who is a youth? Actually, I think the drafters of that law and our Constitution are looking for those elements that bind us together. And when you are going to do that, at what age are people impressionable? If we wanted you to serve at any point in time, we can call it adult youth service, or adult service, or adult/youth service. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is meant to harvest our young men who are able to chest out, even in difficult times, to serve our country. These young people are posted to rural communities. That is when they are within the age of formation, so that they can learn about what happens in other places. So I think initially the youth service was meant for any graduate. It was meant for anybody who has NCE. But over time, it was found that it was necessary to amend it to have an age limit. So it has not been this way all the time. There was a time everybody was serving NCE, any age limit, but at a point it was stopped. So the reason for that was to do so with young people who are impressionable, who can acquaint themselves with other cultures. Two, Mr. Speaker, matters of remuneration are things that have to do with policy, with you appreciating circumstances at that time. It is not something you begin to add as a part of a clause in any legislation. It's usually discretionary. So if we do so now and they say it's within this 40,000, 100,000, what if it becomes necessary? Based on the conditions available, that it should be adjusted. So it is the ones that when we were serving, it was about 16, I think it was about 16 naira or 16,000. But now, okay, 250 naira, I've been corrected. So over time, exactly, over time, there has been several adjustments as per what we pay youth corpers. So if it becomes necessary to say it should be beyond 30,000, I'm all for it based on the circumstances. But I don't think it's something we begin to include in a law, so that next time when we want to adjust, we bring it to Parliament and begin to go through all this process. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, regarding age limit, I think I've advocated that. I think Osai's point of order was essentially because he wanted to contribute. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, when you say that these are conditions precedent to accomplishing and for qualifying for a purpose, you state the conditions. It is not discriminatory to say that these are the conditions you have to fulfill to be a member of House of Representatives, or to be a president of this country, or to end this job. It's not discriminatory. That's not what is anticipated by a constitution. So when you are state conditions for somebody to serve as a copper, I don't think it is discriminatory. So I think that matter is rested, and you probably ruled him out of order. So I think the bench should further consult on this amendment, and then the House taking this quick action. Thank you.
Yeah, Honorable Toby has raised an interesting observation about the need that can be couched in such a way to give maybe a percentage of minimum wage, or however you want to couch the language.
Mr. Speaker, as a human rights advocate and public affairs expert, Mr. Speaker, I want to clearly call my brother. The provision quoted by my brother Osai is not in consonance. Yes. Mr. Speaker, let me also tell my colleague, the forerunners of this bill, Ipakwa and Co, that this is a constitutional bill. If they think that this bill is no longer essence, they should go for constitutional amendment in the 10th National Assembly. But as to speak, Mr. Speaker, the issues raised by this proposed amendment are not germane to warrant even going to a committee stage. Mr. Speaker, for want of time, just like people have spoken, what is the intendment of the crafters of this legislation, of this law? To bring about national unity, integration, cohesion, foster an understanding of our diverse cultural identities in Nigeria. For example, Tov is from Benue State. He did the youth service in Port Harcourt. He has known the ways and life of people of River State. So also is for every other person. So if he has not gone, he is still there. Mr. Speaker, too, on the issue of age, the law provides that everybody will partake in the National Youth Service exercise once you have a first degree. But the exception is that if you are 30 at the point of graduation, you can elect not to partake in the National Youth Service. I know a lot of people who have, at the age of 30, elected not to partake, who have elected not to partake. So, Mr. Speaker, the issue of age shouldn't come. My Deputy Speaker have already stated the clear indication of those who schooled abroad and those who schooled Nigeria. So I don't need to reiterate that fact. But Mr. Speaker, one important thing is that no salary, no remuneration is inserted in the provision of a law. Nobody. Example is the legislator's salary. It's not in any law. It's fixed by the appropriate agency. It's fixed by the appropriate agency based on their guidelines. So just like my deputy leader said, let us not kill the spirit and the interest of this law by even offering any amendment. Let's allow the law as it is, because as it is today, it is serving the purpose and the intendment of the act. I so.
By the leave of the House, Mr. Speaker, I want to step it down so that we can work further on it for more consultation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Everybody. No, not the member. I'm talking about the co-sponsors. Because, Honorable Ben, yours is only a portion. Yours is only a portion. Are we all agreed? Yes.
Yes, sir. I think my brother, the Crown Prince Akiolu, is raising his hand, and for the fear that his bill is not being killed or laid to rest, that I want to a little bit ask for the stepping down instead of putting the question, because he has a different bill. He has they all have different components, yes, but they were consolidated. Yeah. And by the time we take a question on the two, it means then all of the bill may either pass or die. So it's better to allow the bills go on their merit, to have a think again on the issues raised, because it is true that you cannot amend the Constitution through act or motion or bills. You can only come through constitutional amendment. And for some of the reasons they raise, it has to do with constitutional amendment. So my own takes is for the rules and business again to look into the bill with a view, that's better, with a view to separating them and allowing the ones that will go under constitutional, the ones that will go so that we can do justice to all of them, sir.
Okay, so, yes, I think what the DS is saying, and I think we can all agree, we stand the risk. There are some good parts, and there are one or two that we don't agree with. And we stand the risk if we put a question of killing the whole bill. Because you cannot put different questions on this part, yes or no, this part, yes or no. We cannot do that. So the suggestion is that we step it down, let them look at it again, remove whatever they want to remove, whether it's through constitutional, whatever, remove the offensive parts and then represent. Or we go ahead and kill everything. The only other way is to pass the bill, let it go through to the, whether Constitutional Amendment Committee or whatever. Those in favor that we step this bill down, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Honorable Obanta.
Let's observe the parliamentary procedures. Mr. Speaker, thank you for granting me a space. I want to lend my voice to the ongoing debate. Mr. Speaker, the essence of parliamentary debate, public hearing, is to enable us find out, correct, amend, vary existing circumstances in any bill, in any policy. Mr. Speaker, the mover of this bill presently, or the movers, we are debating a consolidated bill. Yes. And if he's withdrawing, he can only speak about it. And fortunately or unfortunately, it stands consolidated. And in the second option you gave, pass the bill, allow them an opportunity at the public hearings to hear it. A bill may look bad. Excuse me, I'm protected. A bill may look bad. At the public hearing, at the committee level, they'll be able to sieve and separate that. If you now look at our parliamentary timing, if you now step down this bill, within that period, we are working for Nigeria.
Okay, your point. No, his point is noted. Now, your point is noted.
I think that in your wisdom, let this bill go to the committee, and the committee will be able to steal the bill, sieve it, bring out the points, or kill it. But it will be inappropriate.
Silence, please.
I'm not going to call anybody there because
Silence,
you are not listening to the person talking, so nobody's going to listen to you. So if you cannot listen to somebody else, I'm not going to call you. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, it will be inappropriate at this point to determine or kill the bill. One thing I want to say is all of us agree that NYC must be discussed. We all agree that there are lacuna in NYC. We all agree that the intent of setting up NYC is not being met. So shall we sweep it under the carpet? It must be discussed. Therefore, pass this bill, send it to the committee to do the needful. Thank you.
Now, there are two options on the table. Stepping down a bill is not an unusual thing. One option is to step it down if every co-sponsor is agreed on that. The second option is to pass the bill, but the problem is, now, is this going to the Constitutional Review Committee? DS. Is this meant to come to the Constitutional Review Committee? No. So let us step it down. Let us err on the side of caution. Bill, step down.
Other features at plenary include the first reading of 4 bills, while the bill to amend Nigerian Council of Management Development passed second reading.
Tuesday, 22nd November 2022, and I invite Honorable Tajuddin to move that the bill be read a second time.
On the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act 2022, to restore the membership of the council to its original size, provide the tenure of chairman and members of the council, and correct the inconsistency in the description of the supervising minister. I so submit.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second. Motion as moved by Honorable Poli. I so move.
Bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act, number 24, 2022, to restore the membership of the council to its original size, provide for tenure of the chairman and members of the council, and correct the inconsistency in description of the supervising minister and for related matters. Second reading.
Motion on need to provide an alternative funding source for the reconstruction of Bida Zungeru Road in Niger State, standing in the name of Honorable Saidu Musa Abdullahi. Honorable Abdullahi is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, for the record, this motion is co-sponsored by Honorable Abdullahi Idris Garba because the road is situated in our 2 constituencies. The House notes that the 92-kilometer Bida Zungeru Road is the preeminent link route between the north and southwestern Nigeria, which was first constructed by Costain West Africa in 1962 during the First Republic and reconstructed by the Babangida administration in 1989. Also notes that aside from the recent maintenance on some failed portion of the road through the COVID-19 intervention by FEMA, no rehabilitation has been carried out on the Trunk A Road and its bridges since it was rehabilitated over 30 years ago. Aware that Zungeru Town plays host to the ongoing 700 megawatt hydroelectric power station project embarked on by the federal government of Nigeria at the cost of $1.3 billion. The project is part of the federal government strategies to reposition power generation in phases in the country, and upon completion, we have the recognition of a strategic national asset. Also aware that the area from Bida to Zungeru is a major rice belt with huge potentials for other agricultural produce that can hugely contribute to the country's drive at food security. Concerned that the road leading to this strategic national asset, in addition to the huge agricultural endowment of the area, is in a total state of disrepair, leading to road traffic accidents and heavy post-harvest losses, and lowering the ability of farmers in these communities to monetize their farm produce. Also concerned that, despite the approval of the Minister of Works and Transport for the redesign and reconstruction of the road, the amount captured in the 2023 Appropriation Act for the road is grossly inadequate and cannot make any significant impact on the project. Recognize that when reconstructed, the road will open up the western link of the country to the Zungeru hydropower project, which upon completion will generate 700 megawatts of electricity to meet close to 10% of the nation's total domestic energy need, and have positive impact on the country's GDP through enhanced agricultural productivity and commercial activities in the area.
the House resolves to hold the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Inland Revenue Services, and other relevant stakeholders to explore Executive Order 007 of 2019, Road Infrastructure Development and Refurbishment Investment Tax Credit Scheme, to produce an alternative funding source to finance the total reconstruction of Bida Lemu Wishishi Zungeru Road in Niger State. Mandate the House Committee on Works, Finance and Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. This is an infrastructure debate motion, so we're not going to debate it. We'll just take a seconder.
My honorable colleague, I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it.
Four bills, among them Bill to domesticate African Union Convention for the Protection of Internally Displaced Persons, passed first reading.
Honourable members, the first business of the day is presentation of four bills, and I invite the clerk to read their short title.
Federal Produce Inspection Service Bill 2023, first reading. African Union Convention for the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons, Domestication and Enforcement Bill 2023, first reading. GOM Arabic Research Institute Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. Standards Organization of Nigeria Repeal and Enactment Bill 2023, first reading.
Three reports of the Committee on Public Petitions, standing in the name of Honorable Jerry Alagbaso. Honorable Alagbaso is invited to present the reports.
I rise to present three reports for laying. One is a report on the House Committee on Public Petition on the petition by Eni and Associates against Nigerian Agip Oil Company Limited over the non-compliance with the terms of settlement contained in the court order of the High Court of Asaba, Delta State, in suit number PHFC SSBC TS 48210. And another report of the House Committee on Public Petition on the petition by Mr. Salahu Dairi against the United Bank for Africa, UBS PLC, on the fraudulent and unauthorized withdrawal of 646,000 naira from the account on 24th January 2022. To present the third report of the House Committee on Public Petitions on the petition by Ms. Zanaev Jibril against the branch manager, First City Monument Bank, National Assembly branch, on illegal fraudulent and authorized withdrawal of 1,250 from her son's Omar Farouk's account, KISS accounts number 53128400019, CN on 4th November 2021. I here present, Mr. Speaker and colleagues.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Plenary featured the second reading of the bill to establish Nigerian maritime zones, forwarded from the Senate for concurrence, and the bill to amend National Directorate of Employment Act.
The first order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to provide for establishment of the Nigerian maritime zones. And for related matters, standing in the name of the House Leader, honorable members, we recall that the bill was transmitted from the Senate, seeking the concurrence of the House, and read the first time on Thursday, 9th December 2021, and I invite the Leader to move that the bill be now read a second time. Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Nigerian maritime zones and for related matters, HB 1779, be now read for the second time. I so move.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Leader. I so second.
Now read the second time. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
A bill for an act provide for establishment of Nigerian maritime zones and for related matters. Second reading.
The general principle of a bill for an act to amend the National Directorate of Employment Act, strict compliance with the provisions and principles of federal character in employment and vacancies in the country, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Ganu Abiodun Johnson. Honorable members, recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 29th November 2022, and I invite Honorable Johnson to move that the bill be read a second time.
I rise to move a bill for an act to amend the National Directorate of Employment Act, Cap 28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, among other things, empower the Directorate to ensure strict compliance with the provisions and principles of federal character in employment and vacancies in the country, and for related matters, HB 2123, to be read for the second time.
I so second.
Those against please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk, please read the long title of the bill.
For an act to amend the National Directorate of Employment Act, Cap N28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to, among other things, empower the Directorate to ensure strict compliance with the provisions and principles of federal character on employment and vacancies in the country and for related matters. Second reading.
The bill is hereby referred to the Committee on Labor, Employment and Productivity. Business and Rules. Honorable Fulata is now invited to move the motion. Acting Chairman.
The House may recall that the following bills were passed by the National Assembly and transmitted to the President for assent. 1. Federal Medical Center Borough Establishment Bill 2019, HB 347, and 2. Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Abeokuta, Ogun State Establishment Bill 2021, HB 1484. The House may observe that some fundamental issues which require fresh legislative action emerge after crucial analysis of the bills. Hence, recommittal of the bills to address the issues. The House do resolve that rescind its decision on the bills as passed and commit same to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. I so submit, sir.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
The request is equal to a motion from Representative Sergio Sogun, who made reference to the recent kidnap of train passengers and 2 other incidents. The lawmakers observed with sadness the death of DSP Michael Adams, who lost his life during a rescue operation following a gun duel with the kidnappers, and commended the security personnel for their bravery and sacrifice.
Of the people of Nigeria shall be the primary purpose of government. Aware that the National Assembly is empowered to make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of the Federation or any part thereof, as enshrined in this Section 4 Sub 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, 1999. The House is worried about the spate of kidnappings, armed robbery, attacks, and insecurity generally in the country, especially in the Edo Central Senatorial District of Edo State, thus leading to the loss of lives and properties, and is causing palpable fear and apprehension among residents. The House is informed that on Monday 9 January 2023, Mrs. Precious Agbonog, the President of Customary Court, was kidnapped on her way to court around Ogoneki, Igwebe, local government area of Edo State. The House is also informed that former member of the Edo State House of Assembly, Mr. Festus Edugele, was also kidnapped on January 9, 2023 at Ogoneki, same Ogoneki town, on his way to board a flight to Abuja in Benin City. The House is disturbed that these sad incidents occurred 2 days after 20 train passengers were kidnapped at the Igwebe train station while waiting to board a train to Warri, Delta State. The House appreciates the concerted effort by the team of Nigerian Army and Nigerian Police Force, which led to the rescue of the President of the Igwebe Customary Court, Mr. Festus Edugele, as well as 18 out of the 20 train passengers kidnapped. The House is saddened by the death of DSP Michael Adams during the rescue operation by the Nigerian Army and the police officers as a result of gun duel with the kidnappers. The House is cognizant of the urgent need to beef up security formations in the entirety of Edo Central Senatorial District of Edo State to forestall kidnappings and eradicate other acts of criminality in Esan Land and Edo State. The House is convinced that the setting up of a police mobile force base and a Nigerian Army barracks / forward operating base (FOB) within Edo Central Senatorial District will go a long way in weeding off perpetrators of crimes and criminality from Esan Land and Edo State in general. The House resolves: 1. Observe a minute of silence in honor of the deceased police officer, DSP Michael Adams, who paid the supreme sacrifice while in active service. 2, urge the Inspector General of Police to deploy more mobile police personnel to Edo Central Senatorial District of Edo State. 3, also urge the Chief of Army Staff and the Inspector General of Police to set up a Nigerian Army barracks or a forward operating base, FOB, and a police mobile force base, respectively, within Edo Central Senatorial District of Edo State. 4, mandate the committees on Army and Police Affairs to ensure compliance and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues, I so move.
It's an important motion on the security situation in Edo Central, moved by Honorable Sergio Ogun. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. May the souls of the departed rest in peace.
The motion from Dennis Idahosa asking the Ministry of Works to construct a pedestrian bridge at Okada Junction on Benin-Ore Lagos Highway was adopted.
Road by Okada Junction. Standing name of Honorable Dennis Idahosa. Honorable Idahosa is invited to move the motion.
I rise to move a motion on the need to construct pedestrian bridge on Benin-Ore Lagos Road by Okada Junction. The House notes that Benin-Ore Lagos Expressway is one of the busiest highways in Nigeria, with a high volume of vehicles connecting the southwest to southeast, north, and south-south zone of the country. And the road hosts several communities and towns. Among the town is Okada. The House is also aware. Also note that the road connecting Okada town, Igobazowa community, and Benin City on the expressway is a popular Okada junction, a hub for commercial buses and traders, running through over 15 minutes of pedestrian and commercial activities. Aware that the lives of Nigerians who go about their daily activities on the Okada junction are endangered by the absence of pedestrian flyover, thus resulting to the loss of life. Also aware that the residents have continually made a public outcry to the government to construct a pedestrian bridge at Okada Junction to avert accidents and loss of life. The House is worried that apart from the danger to which human lives are exposed, another challenge is that the non-availability of pedestrian bridge discourage residents from hustling for their daily economic activities. The House is also worried that the school children, traders, workers have been crushed to death and injured in their attempt to cross the express road. The House is resolved to urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to immediately embark on the construction of a pedestrian bridge across the expressway of Okada Junction on the Benin-Ore Lagos Road, Edo State, to save the lives of Nigerians who are forced to run across the highway to go about their various activities. The House is also mandating the legislative compliance to ensure compliance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There are other such, spaces along that route that require bridges. Somebody can come up with a separate motion that will be given the same level of importance. Infrastructure that requires attention to be given attention. But by the time you bring all of them together, it waters down the importance of the one that has been raised at the moment. I suggest very strongly that this should be allowed to go, and whoever has need for the subsequent one should bring it up. This House is still here to attend to such a request. Thank you very much.
Right? That main express road. So if there are, say, 3 pedestrian bridges necessary to cover that express road, if there are 3 and it's bringing a motion for 1, do we now wait for a second motion, a third motion, and waste the time of the House when all 3 bridges, for instance, can be captured in one sentence? That's just my own opinion, but we'll put the question. I just think it's a way of, that amendment is a way of just addressing the issue once and for all. I think, but I don't know, I may be wrong. Honorable Gaza.
Seconding the very important and proactive amendment.
Now you are going to fall into the trap of what Honorable Akpatas is saying about watering down.
So that they can fund that project. It will not just be that we are passing this motion for passing sake. But I think my honorable colleagues wouldn't want that.
They are bringing the form from the ministry.
All right,
secondly, we have passed this motion, but we should emphasize very strongly the recommendation of Idaosa so that it has to be first captured before any other pedestrian bridges.
All infrastructural motions in this house, and we've already taken about 3 already. In my opinion, when motions like this come, so there is no elasticity of if at the end of the day we are not able to fund it in this year's budget, and I'm sure they'll find a place. If they're not able to, they'll capture it in the next budget. There's no expiration date for a resolution of the House. All right, so we'll put the question, the substantive of the substantive motion as amended. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. An act to provide for establishment of Federal University of History and Archaeology, ACA, Kwara State, and for related matters. Honourable members recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 22nd of December 2022. The Leader of the House will move for its consideration.
I rise, as directed by the Speaker, my honourable colleagues, to move item 9 on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, which reads, a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of History and Archaeology, AC, Kwara State, and for related matters, HB 2159, be considered for this by this House. Honourable members, Mr. Speaker, honourable members, I so move.
Now, if history is not being studied, then there's a gap. What's the measures?
No, but you want to debate it?
Yeah,
you are debating it.
No,
Before we get into debate, somebody has to second it.
No, I just want to allow the House as an information.
Go ahead.
You know, if history has not been studied for the past 7 years, then means there's a vacuum. Now you want to establish an university of history. Where are you talking of the students to go to such an university of history? Now if there's a gap, even if you establish that university today, there are no students to come in. Because you are now establishing the University of History. I think we should be very, very realistic and see reason why most of these bills should not be debated in the floor of the House in the first instance. Because it's if our curriculum have changed, and we should change it for the better, not just because we want to establish a higher institution for establishing sake. I hope I'm speaking the mind of this House.
Economic advancement of Nigeria and for related matters. Honourable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 24th November 2022. Leader will move for its consideration. The House Leader will move for its consideration.
A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Project Development Agency, PRODA, PRODA, Enugu, to conduct scientific, engineering, and technological research aimed at facilitating the domestication and industrialization of appropriate technology for socio-economic advancement of Nigeria and for related matters, HB 2036, for consideration. Mr. Speaker, honourable members, I so respectfully move.
Against the management of National Space Research and Development Agency, NASRA, an appeal for justice. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the same considerations apply to order number 12 and 13. I so move for consideration, Mr. Speaker.
I so second.
Thank you. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it.
That this House do resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider report, I so move.
Those in support of the motion, please say aye.
The bill seeking legal backing to Project Development Agency PRODA Enugu to conduct scientific, engineering and technological research was considered and approved.
Respected colleagues, the first bill to be considered for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of History and Archaeology, SA, Kwara State, and for related matters. And I invite the leader of the House to give the synopsis of the bill.
This is an establishment bill of cooperation between the chambers that we should go ahead and give the necessary support. Thank you very much.
I honestly believe that we should be convinced. So step down for further legislative action. You have to get reasons as to why we should have this kind of university. Thank you. Consider step down of this particular bill, step down by leader of the House for further legislative action.
This bill has come for second reading. We allow it to come up to consideration. At this stage, we will consider out clause by clause. If there's any clause that we think it is offensive, then we either jettison it or amend it. Then it will go to the committee of the whole, where stakeholders will be invited to come and give their own opinion. At this stage, the committee can give a report that this bill should be thrown out.
Chief Whip, let me intervene like this. You are aware, just this morning, we stepped down about 3 or 4 bills. Maybe for whatever reason, could be funding, could be other reasons. So it has failed the test of the public hearing. I don't know whether this is one of such bills. 2, yes, we are at the stage of the committee of the whole. And that's why they need a concurrence for the bill to get passed by the National Assembly before assent, or could be sent to Mr. President for assent. But under this dispensation, that education is being focused on science and technology, and they are now setting up institutions for history. I mean, we have already in almost every university in Nigeria, at least the first generation universities have the Department of History and Archaeology. So why do we need to establish a university for that purpose only? I think it's not bad. If they convince, we can come back and consider it. Many things happen on the floor that you are aware. Person on this particular, I'm supposed to have the details of the report before the day, so that I will be detailed in terms of my understanding and then guidance. But I don't have it. So I don't want to go to other reasons. Yes. Thank you. PRODA Enugu to conduct scientific, engineering, and technological research and aimed at facilitating the domestication and industrialization of appropriate technology for socio-economic advancement of Nigeria and for related matters. I now invite the leader of the House to give the synopsis of the bill.
I don't know if this bill is to give legislative backing to the existing one or to establish a new one, so I need information on that. Unfortunately, I don't have that here.
Makodi, alongside other states, we could have PRODA, maybe except if you are talking about legal backing. Okay.
It's existing, but you just need the legal backing.
So, excuse me, legal backing, if you are asking for legal backing, where is the headquarters of the agency? It's in Enugu. Thank you. That this is an establishment bill. All along, it doesn't have the instrument, legal backing. It's not exposing. No. Back 1960s, 3064, and that's the Federal Medical Laboratory School. Until this year, before we pass the enabling law to give effect to the existence of that institution. So do not be surprised. Some of the institutions were doled out through pronouncements, and this could be one. Thank you. In fact, Federal America that will provide a law for them, enabling. Thank you. 3 plus 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 9, plus 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes, sir. 22 plus 3, 24 to 25, 26 to 33. 34 to 35, 30, 36, 37, 37 to 46. Schedules. Long title. Thank you. Respected colleagues, consider is that of Committee on Public Petition on petition by Abbas M. Sani against the management of National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA. I now invite Honorable Jerry Alagboson, leader of the Elders Caucus, to give the synopsis of the report.
Case of man's humanity to man, Mr. Chairman. We look at the merits and all the Director of General National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA, to reinstate the petitioner and pay him all his arrears. Because the petitioner went to court and later withdrew it and came to the Parliament. We look at the merits and recommended that he should be reinstated and paid all his arrears, Mr. Chairman. This is not like other nations. They are all self-explanatory, Mr. Chairman.
He withdrew his petition. On what ground did he withdraw his petition at the court and then return it? Is that part of the settlement?
Yes.
So he tell us.
He was compared to come to a more favorable place. That's the National Assembly. And like he normally said, we urge the NASDA to restate it on compassionate ground and warn him to desist from abandoning his work or his responsibilities. Chairman, I can always advise.
And then you are now saying it should be done on compassionate ground. I thought we should dwell more on the merits than the compassionate ground. If he has merit, we now know for the reason like this, we are asking the agency to reinstate him. It's different from compassionate ground. Lawyers, bail us out.
Procedure will be followed and all the disciplinary actions will be adopted. But at the end of the day, the victim may apply for a justice to be tempered with mercy. This is where the issue of compassionate ground may come. Maybe from the investigation of the committee, they realize that there are areas where Abbas M. Sani is at fault, and the organization must have followed all the required procedure to provide disciplinary actions based on the disciplinary situation of the organization, and found him with some issues. So based on compassionate ground, the committee is appealing to the Director General and of the agency to consider it.
Honorable Judge, to come and say ABC should be allowed because we are not doing good service by doing that to our nation. And that's why if we find genuine cases, of course we promote such persons being instated. Where the person has committed grievous offenses, it's not my own responsibility. It's not responsibility to come and say, okay, take him back into the system. You will wake up one day to find good civil servants out of the service. And that would be against your interest and my interest as a citizen of this country.
That the committee had not found him wanting in any case, and so therefore he should be reinstated back to his job. I think that recommendation should be corrected because from the findings, there is nowhere in the content of the document that showed that the petitioner had any issue that warrant his dismissal from service. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to apply that we make it rather than compassionate, but rather instruct that he should be reinstated and be placed properly in his job.
Thank you. I think I mean, and so the likelihood being him being victimized early on could be the case, and so he needs our protection. Thank you.
Yes. So to me, the issue of even compassionate something should not even arise because 2004. And if you look at the second finding, that in the space of 10 years after service, that is, he has been serving for 10 years, he performed his duties but was not promoted despite his numerous pleas. Despite his numerous pleas for career progression, which yielded minimal result when his appointment was upgraded from the post of principal internal auditor to chief internal auditor. Findings number 3 is where the matter is. That for calling on the ministry to lift its embargo, he was just calling for the ministry to lift its embargo on promotion and championing his own cause. There is nothing wrong for you to fight for yourself. In championing his own cause, he was subjected...
One man unionist gang.
So he was subjected to numerous disciplinary cases, including interdiction, that placed him on half pay and eventually stoppage of his salary on 24th February 20. As far as we are concerned, and as far as the finding of the committee is concerned, in fact, this employee deserves an unreserved apology from the organization.
Pay all arrears of his salaries and place him properly as at today.
Thank you. Seconder, the amendment. Yes, sir. One.
All right, second amendment, as ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Say aye. Against any. That's it. One as amended. Documentation 2, 3. Thank you. Petition. On petition by concerned pensioners of Delta State Company against the Pension Transition Arrangement Directorate, PTAT, an increase in pension rate of 150% with effect from 1st January 1999 and 30% effective from January 2000. I now invite Lagboso to give the synopsis of the report.
The report of the House Committee on Public Petitions, that's the substance, the main reason for this petition, is that Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, in calculating the pensions of 1,370 workers of Delta State, made a mistake and removed the increase of 150% and 30% with effect from January 2000 and 2000 respectively. So the pensioners are arguing, Mr. Chairman, that they should please use the result of the stakeholders meeting they held, where it was agreed that the increase of 150 and 30% should be included in the calculation of their pensions. And they made mistake, and there was a mix-up. They are pleading that that's very 150 and 30% should be used in calculating their pension arrears. Mr. Chairman, they also complained that there were some people who were not entitled to pension, whose names were included in the pension. So they are calling on the National Wage Salaries to please ask the pension transition to include the new increase made by the federal government in the calculation of their pensions.
On the Committee on Public Petition, on the petition by aggrieved drivers of Adax Petroleum against the management of Adax Petroleum Development Nigeria Limited and for slavery, inhuman treatment, and unlawful termination of employment, and deferred consideration of the report for further legislative action. Leader, move for the adoption of the report.
The Committee of the Whole be adopted. I so move.
I second the motion.
Say aye. Against any. That's it.